Okay, students, this is chapter number 15, the last lesson of the chapter of ecology. In today's lesson, we will see the reason for conservation of species. We will also see the conservation, protection, and preservation of natural resources in the environment. We will also see that what measures we can take to conserve the forests and fishing grounds. And in the end, we will see why recycling is important. First, let's see the importance or reasons for conservation of species. The first point says that to maintain a large gene pool that would facilitate resistance from diseases. For this, you need to conserve the species. To understand this point, just look on the diagram of a population of frogs. If you see, they are shaded with different colors. Some are green, some are purple, and only a few are, or just one is of red color. It means that there is a genetic variation in the population. The more the population is genetically variable, the more chances are there that they would stand by the changing environment. They will facilitate resistance from the diseases. So gene pool means the total number of genes in a population. We need to conserve the species so that our marine and tropical rainforest remain in balance, to prevent the loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity means different kind of animals and plants. We need to conserve them so that most of the plants that are at the verge of extinction might be of medicinal value in future. For example, we get quinine, which is anti-malarial drug, from a plant called cinchona tree. This is the diagram given here, the bark and the plant. Morphine is also used in medicinal industry, in medicine. It is also obtained from plant sources. There are other foods and vegetables and crops that we get used as a food source. Then we need to conserve them so that our natural scenery is preserved. Outdoor recreational activities like fishing, hiking, and skiing would promote the tourism. Study and research on wildlife is also important, and for that we need to conserve the species. Now we will see the reason for conservation of species, why we need to protect and preserve the natural resources in the environment. We need to preserve natural resources so that our ecological balance is maintained, the food web, the food chains remain in balance. We need to preserve them so that we can get cure for diseases in future. We can research on different natural resources which might be of help and value to cure diseases. We need the preservation of species for getting materials for drugs in drug use or for cosmetic preparations. It is also our moral duty to preserve animals and plants and preserve them against extinction. We need to maintain the continuous supply of raw material to our industries and factories, for example, timber, rubber, oils, and fiber. We also need to supply fish to the fish market. For that, we need to preserve our fishing grounds. You know that overfishing can reduce the fish population, ultimately leading to imbalance in the ecosystem. Now we will see that how we can do that, how we can conserve our environment, our natural resources, our species of plants and animals. It can directly be done by conserving natural resources, by education and awareness, and by making rules and regulation. And indirectly, it can be done by control on population of humans. We need to aware people, we will have to educate people and then assess what they got from the awareness and education, and then we have to act upon it too. The measures are to be implemented so that conservation can be done. We need to start it from ourselves by reducing our carbon footprint. Carbon footprint means the footprint we leave on earth because of our different activities. The carbon accumulation in our environment is creating greenhouse effect. You all know that from our previous lesson. Now we will see how and by what means we can conserve our forest and our fishing grounds. Forests can be preserved by making laws and regulation and by preventing the cutting of trees, by implementing reforestation, and by strongly recommending strong and strict rules and laws on all the population. We can conserve our fishing grounds by banning the drift nets. This is a kind of a net which is used for fishing. Certain mesh size may be used to prevent the trapping of young fish. The net size can be varied, and we need to regulate the size of this net so that the young fish is not trapped. Size of the ships must be regulated in the fishing grounds. Limit period of fishing means that there should be a specific period in the year when the fishing must be allowed. Otherwise, in the breeding seasons, it should be stopped. It should be banned so that the young fish are not caught. Ban should be made on harvesting of endangered species. Now we have to look upon the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. What we have to reduce is the use of non-biodegradable material. You know what non-biodegradable material are. These are the materials that cannot be degraded, that cannot be decomposed by decomposers, that is bacteria and fungus. We need to reduce that use so that our environment does not get piled up with those things. We can reuse and recycle materials that can be reused by some simple chemical and physical processes. Recycling of water is very important. Whenever you have to dump or dispose of the sewage water, it should first be treated so that the harmful substances in it are converted to harmless compounds or harmless substances, so that it won't affect or harm the aquatic life or would pollute the water. It will also prevent certain diseases which are waterborne, for example cholera and typhoid. Recycling of paper and tree-based products, it is also very important because you know paper industry would need a lot of trees to be cut. So if you will prevent the use or reduce the use of tree-based products, you are actually reducing deforestation and its consequences, for instance soil erosion, flooding, and less pollution. Glass or bottle reduction use would cause less solid waste to dispose. Less use of fossil fuels in the industry would lead to less air pollution. Less use of non-biodegradable plastic so that less solid waste is to be disposed of. Recycling of metals is also important so that less mining would be done and provide less damage to our earth. And all these points not only conserve energy resources, but it also saves the money.